Achtung! Terrorists are not allowed in this room at this time. You are disturbing the paintings. Raus! You leave now! Mach schnell!
The museum staff have labeled this a Struthiomimus, literally ostrich mimic. This is a mastodon, one of the early mammals. Technically, the mastodon is not a dinosaur at all, but since they date back to prehistory, they're included in the exhibit. This particular example of the order Proboscidea is the Mammoth americanus, or North American mastodon. The chief feature which distinguishes this shaggy beast from the elephant and the woolly mammoth are its molar teeth. This is an Eryops skull. Such a large capacity mandible and teensy capacity cranium. This is an Archaeopteryx. Correction, this used to be an Archaeopteryx. Ah, a very nice specimen of Eohippus, somewhat flatter than it appeared in real life. You pick it up and place it in your purse. It's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. His name is Rex. Isn't that clever? A small sign identifies this dinosaur as an iguanodon, which means iguana tooth. However, from the Tyrannosaurus Rex's point of view, this dinosaur could be identified as dinner. The mummified corpse of Amenophis III, also known as Amenhotep III or Memnon by the Greeks. He built large temples to Amon-Ra, both at Karnak and at Luxor. In the 5th year of his reign, Amenophis marched into Nubia to quell a mighty rebellion. He also ruled over the Mesopotamians, since his kingdom was quite large. We also know that Amenophis was a mighty hunter who slew 102 lions during the first 10 years of his reign in his spare time. Now he's dead. A sepulchral stele found in a tomb of the 6th dynasty. It tells the story of Una, born during the reign of King Tita, who served under Tita's successor Pepi. Una died during the reign of King Murena, full of days and honor. The placard says, "This is a granite stele depicting Horus and Thoth, found in the temple of Amon-Ra." This stele was modified during the reign of the pharaoh Akhenaten, then restored during the reign of Tutankhamun. A sturdy window that looks out on the city of New York. This is a granite stele depicting Horus and Thoth, found in the temple of Amon-Ra. This stele was modified during the reign of the pharaoh Akhenaten, then restored during the reign of Tutankhamun. This pyramid is a model of the Great Pyramid of Cheops, Khufu, as it appears today. Originally, the entire surface of the pyramid was covered with smooth, polished limestone, This covering has worn away over time to reveal the stepped surface we see now. The base of the Great Pyramid covers 13 acres and was built with over 2 million stones to a height of 480 feet. Construction took 30 to 50 years. It looks remarkably like a glass case in the shape of a pyramid. A small card informs you that this case contained the famous Dagger of Amon-Ra, which is now missing. Oops! Congratulations! You've cracked the case of the Dagger of Amon-Ra. Ironically, there's a gold Ankh medallion, the ancient Egyptian symbol of life, resting in the pool of blood. The card identifies the slab of black basalt as the Rosetta Stone. Hieroglyphs and letters from the English alphabet are clearly engraved on the stone. The Rosetta Stone was found by a French artillery officer among the ruins of Fort Saint-Julien near the Rosetta mouth of the Nile River in 1799. It came into the possession of the British government after the capitulation of Alexandria. The Rosetta Stone, currently on loan to the Dagger Museum, is the key to modern translations of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs into English text. You notice that half of the Rosetta Stone seems to be missing from the display, replaced by a small card that reads, Artifact 310 removed from display for research on 9/1/26 by O.M. The card identifies the rose. You notice this placard describes the full translated text on the Rosetta Stone, which still resides in the British Museum. In summary, the text records the decree made at Canopus by the priesthood in honor of the pharaoh Ptolemy III, Euergetes I, who reigned from 247 to 222 BC. The decree discusses the great benefits which the pharaoh had conferred on Egypt and states what festivals are to be celebrated in his honor, concluding with orders that a copy of the decree in hieroglyphics, Demotic and Greek shall be placed in every large temple in Egypt. It's your official the thigh bone from a young Tyrannosaurus rex who no longer has any need for it. A close look reveals the initials PS inscribed in the back of the bloody Ankh. You pick it up and place it in your purse. It's definitely blood. Most of it is still liquid, but some of it is already starting to dry. The mummy coffin is made of gilded wood. It's definitely blood. Apparently the shoe's owner stepped in some of the blood. It apparently belongs to a dainty foot. His nostrils are flared, as if in anger or surprise, in death as in life. He's looking down his nose at you. A close look at the dagger reveals the words, "Made in Pittsburgh," stamped on the part of the blade that is not buried in Pippin Carter's chest. To your naked eye, the rough surface of the dagger handle doesn't appear to hold any fingerprints, but that's something for the coroner to examine in detail. When you reach into Pippin's tuxedo jacket, you find a notepad in his inner pocket. You pick it up and place it in your purse.
You scream like a banshee, lass. Did you kill the man then?
No, I just walked in here and found him.
I suppose that would explain your screaming then. Did you see the murderer?
No.
All right, I'll talk to you later after you've had a chance to calm down. Just don't try to leave the building.
Excellent work. Your father would be proud of you. Having already interrogated the guests, Detective O'Reilly is now discussing the murder with the staff members as they leave the party. It would be best if you don't interfere.
Hi, Miss Bowe. I'm Ernie Leach. Dr. Carrington told me you could stay a while and talk to the staff. I've got to lock the doors, so just come and find me when you're ready to leave. Dr. C also has a key, but you don't want to bother him about that.
Thank you, Mr. Leach.
Just be careful where you go. Wolf will get upset if he finds you downstairs. See you later.
Did you manage to learn anything from your interviews, Detective O'Reilly?
Don't bother your little head about it, lass.
It's my job, sir.
This is an official murder investigation, Miss Bowe. Do not be interfering.
Oh, I don't mean to interfere. I just want to know what's going on. Any leads so far?
Dr. Carter died as the result of someone sticking a gift shop dagger in his chest. What more do you need to know?
Well, for one thing, who did it?
Someone who didn't like him, that's my guess.
Brilliant deduction.
If you think that you can do better.
I can try.
Oh, wunderbar. Now we've got the amateurs involved.
I may not be a detective, but I'm terribly clever. I've solved murders before.
Just stay out of me way, lass, and don't destroy the evidence.
Certainly not.
Yeah. Humph.
When you touch the painting, you smear a bit of the paint as if it's still damp. Feels like a painting by anonymous Bosch, who is known for the distinctive texture of his canvases, among other things. Feels like a paint. The oil paint on the canvas is old and cracked, but you can still see the characteristic brush strokes of anonymous Bosch, who painted with human bones instead of brushes. A typical light-hearted painting by anonymous Bosch called A Heartwarming Story, depicting dead humans being tormented by skeletons and demons in hell. You see a short, elderly woman dressed flamboyantly, and you suspect expensively, and sporting a grotesque amount of makeup. In fact, when she speaks, you notice small flecks of base coat chipping off of her jowls and tumbling onto her furred collar. A gold Egyptian Ankh medallion with a bit of blood on it. Thank you for coming to see me, Olympia. This is very nice of you.
You're very welcome, my dear. What can I do for you?
Oh, you see, I found this strange bone, and I said to myself, if anyone can tell you what this is, it would be Olympia.
A bone, you say? How fascinating. Where did you find it?
I found it right here in the museum. Here it is, Doctor.
Now, let me see. Ha ha! If that you silly girl! This is a chicken bone.
It is?
Yes, of course. For it is still greasy. You got this at dinner, didn't you?
Oh, you have caught me, Olympia. I was playing the little joke on you.
You are a funny girl, Yvette, but I am quite fond of you.
Olympia, we are the good friends, no? I have the problem I wish to talk to you about.
Oh, certainly. What is it?
Come closer so I can whisper it to you. It is very personal, and I want no one to overhear.
Oh my. Oh my. Oh my.
The giant lizards are displaying some rather uncivilized behavior. It's Barney, Olympia's pet cobra. Don't touch it. You don't know where it's been. While this is a notepad made of good quality paper, there's an imprint on the paper from the previous message written on the pad, but it's too faint to read. Unreadable words are imprinted. That's not something you want to look at too closely, particularly in this office. A number of hieroglyphics are carefully drawn on the blackboard. A magnified intercom slave unit. A number of The snake oil certainly smells bad.
Good evening, Miss Bo.
Oh, you startled me.
Good. It gets the blood flowing, doesn't it?
Well, I suppose so.
I see you were looking at my snake oil.
Well, I was just looking around.
I'm sure you meant no harm.
What's the snake oil for, anyway?
It repels snakes, of course. Comes in handy when I'm working in the basement. I lost a load of Egyptian cobras down there a few weeks ago, and I occasionally come across one of those little darlings. Those snakes always want to bite me, but I'm sure they don't mean anything by it. It's just their way. They get nervous very easily, you know. Normally, I love to watch them kill things. My Barney will kill anything he can sink his teeth into.
Charming.
Well, I'd like to chat some more, but I've got to rush off and meet that young Steve fellow. He promised to show me his scars. See you later.
This short, blustery man heavy stone masonry. Each block must weigh hundreds of pounds. A used piece of carbon paper. You pick it up and place it in your purse. Assorted garbage fills the wastebasket. Pencil shavings, torn typing paper, fingernail clippings, carbon paper, and apple core, and an empty bottle of French champagne. Backlit, you can read the words typed into the carbon paper. Ernie, Big Al called to see if you could do some fencing for him next week. He says he'll make it worth your while to do a fast fencing job. You hear nothing of interest. You hear nothing. You hear muffled voices coming through the door to Yvette's office. Come a little closer, Monsieur Nazir. I am wanting to show you something.
And what would that be, Miss Delacroix?
Look at the palm of my hand.
It is a lovely palm, to be sure. But what am I supposed to see?
You see this line, monsieur? It is my love line.
My goodness, Miss Delacroix. It goes all the way up your arm and disappears up your sleeve.
Would you like to see where it ends up, Ramses?
Well,
Have you ever been to Paris, Ramses?
no, I can't say I ever have.
Then you have never seen the Eiffel Tower?
No.
Well, by all means, let me show you.
Miss Delacroix, please. I'm a married man. Oh, dear.
Have you forgotten who let you into the museum, Ramses? Have you forgotten who showed you the secret room for your little ceremonies? You haven't, have you?
No, I haven't, but...
Then you will let me give you the grand tour of the tower, no?
We'll have to go somewhere else. I don't feel safe here.
Lead the way, monsieur. You pick it up and place it in your purse. A lump of charcoal from a fire. Rubbing the charcoal over the notepad has made the imprint readable. Yvette 8 o'clock Egyptian rum, Tut 10:15 Egyptian rum, Carrington 11 o'clock his office. It's the latest thing in office telecommunications technology, an intercom master unit. You touch the intercom unit, completely missing the buttons, and the whole point apparently. You touch the You touch the intercom crackles and you overhear a conversation.
Oh, I so love your scars, Wolfie. Show them to me again, darling.
They are yours to admire, my strudel.
Hoopa! Very, very nice.
Yeah, and I have this new bone for your collection.
Ah, such a large bone, too. Where did you find it?
I've been carrying this bone around for years. It is yours now, my Fräulein. You may do with it what you will.
I'm impressed by your generosity, Wolfie.
The intercom crackles and you overhear a conversation. Oh, my lover, how do you manage to do it so many times?
Sure, and a man's got to do what a man's got to do.
And you do it so well.
Try and keep your voice down, lass. Someone might hear us.
Oh, I do not care, my amour. Life, she is something we only enjoy once.
Sure, and begorra, I do this at least 50 times a day to stay in shape.
50 times, ooh la la, and what do you call this movement?
Sit-ups, lass. I also do 50 push-ups each day, then I run a few miles.
The intercom crackles and you overhear a conversation.
I'm telling you, pal, You're not supposed to be down here.
Nothing poisonal, Mac, but Archie said I could scope the place out.
Well, he didn't say anything to me about it. Neither did Mr. Hemlock. And he's the chief of security.
It's okay, Mac. Don't get your britches in an uproar. Trust me.
I'd only trust you about as far as I can throw you.
Hey now, there ain't no need for physical violence, Mac.
I'll give you 10 seconds. If you aren't out of my sight by then, I'm gonna hurt you real bad.
You're touchy, ain't ya? But I was done down here anyways. See you around, Mac.
Not if I can help it.
You touched. You touched. You touched. When you press the button, all you hear is static. You touch. You touch. When you press the button, all you hear is static. You touch. You touch the... When you press the button, all you hear is static. A handsome desk clock. It's President Carrington's stuffed porcupine, Spiny Norman. A desk lamp. The light bulb is off. You pick it up and place it in your purse. The sculpture has a beautiful face. Its strong but sensitive lines remind you of Steve. Oh dear, the light bulb blew out. You hope someone will invent a reliable light bulb one of these days. The glass covering the alcove is marked with the words, "For emergency use only." You pick it up and place it in your purse. You hear muffled voices coming through the door to Yvette's office. You hear muffled voices.
Well, lass, we've known each other a long time, and I'm not ready to get married yet. But I know one thing for sure. I love you.
Oh, my great detective, this feeling, it is mutual.
Just be keeping in mind that I'd have to kill you if I ever found out you were sleeping with someone else.
What? Oh, you are to be making the little joke, no? Your sense of humor, it is magnifique.
I've already had one bad marriage, and it won't happen again. It's been a long time since I've been able to trust anyone as much as I trust you.
This is very flattering, my love. I am never to be knowing someone like you either. You are so good and so kind.
Well, I try, lass. I try. It's not easy being a cop in this town. The place is lousy with criminals, even in the police force.
Oh no, how terrible.
Sure, and it's a hard thing when a cop goes bad. I've seen it happen. A cop spends years fighting crime and watching the hoods get rich while he risks his life to make just a few bucks. The first time a cop takes a bribe, it bothers him. Oh, but then it gets easier.
You are such a strong man, my Ryan. You would never be accepting the payoff, no?
Sure, and I'm shocked that you'd even say such a thing, Yvette.
I'm sorry, my love. I should have known better.
You'll have to show me how sorry you are. Kiss me.
Gladly, my love. How can I resist?
While this is an interesting approach, it serves no practical. While this is an the skull of the long-extinct horned rhesus, known in academic circles to be the source of much controversy regarding it as evidence for the extraterrestrial origin of primate evolution. Don't touch it. You don't know where it...
Oh, good evening, Miss Bo.
Hi, Dr. Miklos. I'm sorry if I startled you.
Oh, that's okay. I enjoy being startled. And please, call me Olympia.
Okay, Olympia. You enjoy being startled?
It gets the blood flowing. I love it. I was just trying to find Daisy, my ferret. She usually has the run of the museum, but it's time for me to feed her.
And you think she might be in here?
Well, she's been spending a lot of time in here lately for some reason. She probably likes the unusual smells. Who knows?
Can I help you look for her?
Thanks, but I'm sure I can find her. Would you mind leaving me for a while so she'll come out of hiding?
Certainly. Sorry to disturb you.
You hear muffled voices coming through the door to Ernie's office.
Interesting. I'd never noticed that before.
You never noticed what, my love?
You have a tattoo of the Eiffel Tower on the inside of your left eye.
Ah, you are doing this to distract me, no? But I am worried about you, my Ernie. You are so big and so strong. But this ice pick fellow, he is a dangerous one, no?
Yeah, he's dangerous, but I'll pay him his dough. Ernie Leach always pays his debts.
Maybe you can do some more fencing for this Big Al. He pays well.
Yeah, Big Al's a good customer, but there's only so much fencing I can do for one guy.
This ice pick might try to make the example of you before you can pay him off. He keeps leaving these threatening messages.
Don't worry, baby. Icepick knows he won't get his dough if he kills me. Maybe I can get into a hot poker game down at the Harlem Swinger and win enough money to pay him off.
No, no, no. The gambling is what got you into this mess, my Ernie.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But I've got bigger problems tonight. I saw something I wasn't supposed to see.
What?
You're better off if I don't tell you about it. Now, what's this on the top of your Eiffel Tower tattoo?
I think you know what it is, my Ernie. You've seen it before.
And I always enjoy seeing it again, baby.
Ah, you American men are so charming.
Vat 5. A large, hairy creature with at least one huge claw is floating in the murky liquid of the vat. Vat 10. Is that a unicorn floating in the murky liquid? Can't be. Unicorns are mythical creatures. Vat 8. A thick body with two long bird-like legs and a long neck ending in a small head floats in the vat. Vat 14. There's a vaguely humanoid shape floating in the murky liquid. After staring through the glass for a while, you see what appears to be white hair, or perhaps it's a large jellyfish. An office door. You see a tall Irish gentleman with red hair who acts like a cop.
Good evening, Dr. Smith.
Miss Bow, I did not expect to see you here.
Ah, but I knew you were coming.
You did? How?
How is not important. The question is, why are you here?
I had an appointment with Dr. Carter.
You must be aware that he's dead.
Dead? Why, I had no idea.
Died right here in this room, as a matter of fact. I'm surprised you hadn't heard.
I'm shocked. I don't know what to say.
I bet you don't. Where were you at 8 p.m. when he died?
At the party, of course. You saw me there.
Actually, I didn't see you there at that time.
But you must. Oh, well, there was the phone call.
Phone call.
Mr. Heimlich told me I'd a call waiting on Dr. Carrington's telephone. When I arrived in his office, the line was dead. So I returned to the party.
Was Dr. Carrington in his office?
No, he was at the party.
Did Mr. Heimlich tell you who was calling?
No, he didn't take the call, and I don't know who told him about it.
You and Dr. Carter seem to argue a lot about the Dagger of Amon Ra.
We had our differences of opinion, yes.
Did you kill him?
Miss Bow, I am shocked that you would ask me such a thing. I am leaving.
We'll talk again later.
The corpse is wearing a black tuxedo jacket. At the moment it's a poor fit, especially around the neck. Your careful observation reveals that this is a rented tuxedo bearing the marks of repeated alterations. There is a stain above one pocket. A whiff reveals the strong, fresh scent of champagne. You search the pockets and find nothing but the usual lint. You decline to take the jacket with you since it apparently contains no clues and is skewered to the floor anyway. Though it hardly seems appropriate, you marvel at the intricacy of the construction. The pterodactyl has been covered with authentic animal hide of some sort, stretched over a rigid framework. There's nothing suspicious about it, however. You eye this woman with a certain amount of jealousy. Her fashionably high cheekbones, impeccably styled hair, and sultry eyes make you feel mousy and naive by comparison.
Bonjour, Miss Beau. How are you enjoying the museum this evening?
I find it very stimulating.
You be careful walking around in this place with the murderer loose. Stay near the Detective O'Reilly or Monsieur Heimlich.
Thanks, but I can take care of myself.
Ah, but you'll keep saying that until the murderer he kills you. Please be careful. You seem like a very nice young woman. I would hate to see the bad things happen to you.
Oh my, he looks dour. Let's see who he is. Tiberius, BC 42 to AD 37. Tiberius disliked most everyone and practiced the strictest economy with funds devoted to public amusement. Consequently, most everyone disliked him. Although he was perceived by the upper classes as a suspicious, ill-natured tyrant throughout his reign, he ruled the empire with a firm, capable hand, and Rome prospered. He was most probably smothered by his nephew Caligula, although no one is quite sure to this day. Nobody missed him. This is the Life Mask exhibit. You haven't seen this many dead-looking, expressionless faces since your accounting class at the university. This is the... seems to be covered with a paint-like substance. Probably paint. Appears to have been applied quite some time ago. What fine craftsmanship. Seems to be covered with a paint-like substance. What fine craftsmanship. Seems to be covered. Seems to be... What fine... It's Ziggy's head! It's Ziggy's... Oh no! That doesn't look like a life mask.
What is going on in here?
I'd say you've got some explaining to do, young lady. Why are you screaming?
I found Mr. Ziggy's head.
Very odd how you are always finding the bodies, Miss Bow. I think we should be going back to my office and interrogating you now.
Here now, Wolf. The young lady just found a man's head. Give her a moment before you get out your thumb screws then.
Thank you, Mr. O'Reilly.
Don't thank me, lass. I'm not saying you didn't kill the man. I'm just trying to restrain Mr. Heimlich's enthusiasm for his job.
But I will get results. Let me talk to her privately.
Now I realize you're just trying to help, Wolf. But I think we can learn what we need from the lass without harming her.
She could lie and you'd never know it. You Americans are too soft on your criminals.
I just walked in and found his head, that's all.
Well, Mr. Heimlich does have his point, lass. It's a wee bit curious that you keep showing up at the murder scenes before anyone else. How do you explain that, then?
Just lucky, I guess.
Well, you do seem a wee bit small to be sawing off a man's head, I'll say that much.
Thanks.
This Fräulein could have had help. Or maybe she's very clever.
Or maybe you're trying to pin the murders on her, so you can find the murderer and save your job, eh?
My job is quite secure, Herr O'Reilly.
Oh, really now? A security chief who allows burglars to steal the exhibits, then overlooks several murders happening under his nose. I'd think twice about your security methods if I was running things here.
This is hardly the place to discuss my methods, Herr O'Reilly. We have a suspect to interrogate.
Correction. We have a murder scene to investigate. We can talk to the lass later when she's had a chance to calm down.
Thank you again, sir.
You're a sturdy one, I'll say that much for you. One scream and you've got your head together again, so to speak. Just don't try to leave the museum.
I can't leave. I'm locked in.
Good. We won't have to worry about you then. All right, Wolf. We've got work to do. Let's go get the crime scene tools.
It's an intercom slave unit which can't be controlled from here. The intercom crackles and you hear,
Wolfie, it's Olympia. If you can hear me, meet me in the armor room at 2 o'clock. You promised to show me your private scars, remember? See you there, Wolfcakes.
You pick it up and place it in your purse. It's a Thompson submachine gun, also known as a Tommy gun. This bookshelf is dedicated to the topic of art history. This bookshelf is dedicated to the topic of medieval weaponry. This bookshelf is dedicated to the topic of animal traps. These are books on art forgery. This bookshelf is dedicated to the topic of museum security, including such books as Criminals Among Us. This bookshelf is dedicated to a complete collection of the Encyclopedia of Interrogation and Torture. This bookshelf is dedicated to the topic of gardening. Apparently these gardening books were left here by the previous tenant of this office. This bookshelf is dedicated. While the topics of these books interest you, there are more important things. Upon close inspection, you see nothing new here. That's not the sort of thing you want. This bookshelf is dead. While the topics of these books interest you, that's not the sort. This bookshelf is dedicated. Joe Bob's Weapons of the World for 1926, the complete set of books. This bookshelf is dedicated to the This bookshelf is dedicated to a This bookshelf is dedicated to the apparent. It's the Office of Security. This bookshelf. These are books. This bookshelf. World War I campaign medals. Kaiser Wilhelm of Germany is prominently featured on many of the medals. There are many things on these shelves, none of which interest you. This bookshelf. These are book. This bookshelf is dedicated. This bookshelf is dedicated. This bookshelf is dedicated. This bookshelf. This bookshelf. This bookshelf. This bookshelf is apparently the. This bookshelf is. This bookshelf is. This bookshelf. This book. Upon close inspection you That's not... It's the office. This bookshelf. For some reason the spine on this book has been turned round to face the wall, hiding the title. The poetry book falls open to a poem, She Walks in Beauty, written by Lord Byron. The page is marked by a black garter with a note pinned to it. The note attached to the garter reads, "You can have the other garter and much more if you meet me at 3 a.m. in the preservation lab." The handwriting is female. You pick it up and place it in your purse. Although the medals are shiny and colorful, there's really no need for you to touch them. The letters C and P are carefully written in blood on the desk, as if they were put there by the dying President Carrington. The glass on the clock face appears to have been smashed during a struggle. Whether it was a struggle to wind the clock or a struggle for Carrington's life, it's hard to say for certain. The clock appears to have been broken at exactly 12:04 a.m. Countess and Ziggy at 1 a.m. Medieval armor display. The note is written in a man's handwriting, probably belonging to Dr. Carrington. Don't touch it. The note is written Countess and Ziggy. You presume the dripping blood belongs to Carrington, since the porcupine was stuffed. The note is written in a man. Countess and Ziggy at 1 a.m. It's Carrington's desk, which is now the scene of his demise as well. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. While this is an interesting approach, it serves Don't touch it. Glancing through the diary and the male handwriting within, it refers to Sterling's growing fear that the Countess only married him for his money and that she could be planning to kill him. The final entry reads, Yvette fears her too. Not wanting to remove evidence from the crime scene, particularly when you must have broken some sort of law by opening the president's personal wall safe, you decide not to remove the diary. The note is written Countess and Ziggy. A desk lamp. Judging by the handwriting, the phone numbers were written by the same person who made the note on the desk calendar. Judging by the phone numbers, T. Dargan, WP 5125. R. Williams, BL 4468. I did it, SH 0244. Be safe, KL 0527. U. Hoser, LI 2077. And yet, KL 4004. E. Leach, BR 1833. Looks can be deceiving. Looks. Look. That's not. That's not the. Upon close inspection you. A handwritten note attached to the police file reads, "Remember our deal." You pick it up and place it in your purse. The book is so well made, it looks like it will last forever. By reading a few lines from the book, you gather that the theme of this book is that man pays for his crimes against men by suffering for those crimes. It's amazing how much meaning you can get from a few well-chosen words. You admire the wood pulp patterns in the paper. You read a police report on the criminal career of one Watney Little, conman extraordinaire. The file contains an amazing list of offences, mostly fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and various degrees of larceny. Glancing at the top of the page, you noticed that the investigations were conducted by Scotland Yard. You also notice that the last entry describes Little's recent escape from Dartmoor prison. Clipped to the outside of the folder is a small handwritten note that reads simply, "Remember our deal." Apparently this file was provided in exchange for somebody's silence or service. A paper cutter with a red blade. The red stain on the paper cutter blade could be red ink or blood. Perhaps the last person to use it had an accident? You see a short, elderly...
Well, well. Good evening, Countess.
What are you doing here?
I just happened to be hiding behind the tapestry.
You're lying.
How could you tell?
Nobody just happens to hide behind a museum tapestry.
And nobody just walks around inside a museum late at night with paintings under their arms.
Paintings? Oh, you mean these paintings? I just found them laying around on the floor and I picked them up so no one would step on them.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Are you accusing me of something, you silly girl?
What do you think?
I think you're a rude girl who needs to learn some manners. The nerve going around accusing people of stealing paintings.
Did I say anything about you stealing them?
Well, of course you did. Don't try to trick me, girl. I've got more tricks than you have brain cells.
One thing I have to ask myself is, why did you bring those paintings to a meeting with Dr. Carrington this time of night?
How did you know I was meeting Dr. Carrington?
I found a note beside his body.
His body? You talk about him like he was dead.
Yes, he is. Dead as a doorknob. You didn't know about it?
You're trying to trick me again. Dr. Carrington is alive and well and working in his office.
Well, you're right about him being in his office, but he's quite dead, I assure you.
Oh, my God!
And you seem to be a logical murder suspect.
Wait a second. You're not going to pin this one on me. I didn't have anything to do with it. Why would I want to kill him? We've got a perfectly good art burglary scheme going.
Art burglary?
I think I said too much.
If you're trying to convince me that you're not the murderer, you're not doing a very good job of it.
What do I care what you think anyway? You're not a cop.
But I am a reporter, and I could write about you in the newspaper. Of course, your reputation would be ruined, and the police would get very interested in you. But you're tough, so I'm sure you could handle it.
Look, it was just a little deal I worked out with Dr. Carrington. An art forger duplicates the paintings on the wall of the gallery. Then we hang them up in place of the real ones, which we sell to private collectors.
Didn't you think someone would catch on after a while?
Are you kidding? That's the beauty of the plan. When we had replaced all the paintings, we were going to slash them and make it look like someone vandalized the real paintings. No one would ever think we'd go to the trouble of forging paintings just to destroy them. And Carrington is here to see that no one gets too nosy.
You mean he was here?
I swear I didn't have anything to do with his death. He was my cash cow. I brought him over from Europe just for this reason. Now that's it. I'm not saying any more about it.
The faceplate on the armor is slightly open, as if something is protruding from the inside of the dark helm. The faceplate on the armor is slightly... It's Dr. Pippin Carter, famous dead archaeologist. Dr. Carter's body has been indelicately crammed into the suit of armor. His filmy eyes gaze in mute shock. His head is bent at an unlikely angle, and the skin is puckered where the helmet's edges bite into the expanding flesh. Dr. Carter's body... You don't... You hear muffled voices coming through the door to Yvette's office. While this is an...
Oh, Dr. Smith, I appreciate your help so much.
Well, I don't particularly appreciate giving it. I have things to do, Miss Delacroix. Important things.
But surely you can spare the time to help me move my desk, no?
Oh, I suppose. Why do you want to move it anyway?
Oh, there is a terrible stain on the rug. I don't want it to show. We don't have to move the desk very far.
All right. Oh, it's heavy. Oh!
Oh, I am so sorry. Did you hurt yourself?
Yes. Oh no, I'm bleeding. You owe me one, miss.
But of course, Mr. Smith. I'll do anything you say. Anything. Didn't I let you in when you asked? Didn't I keep your secret?
Yes, I suppose you did. And I'm sorry about bleeding on your carpet. At least it'll blend in with the old stain. What is that anyway?
Oh, it is only strawberry jam.
I'm sure I don't want to know, Yvette.
Probably not, Dr. Smith. Now, let's go to your place.
The intercom crackles and you hear,
Ernie, it's Olympia. The release valve in number 13 seems to be jammed. Take a look at it when you have a chance.
This curious device is a lasso at the end of a pole used for the humane capture of snakes in the wild, or wild snakes, or something like that. You pick it up and place it in your purse. This is the storage room that has been converted to an office for Ernie Leach. Current VAT contents, Alcoholic Preservation Lab. 1. Koala bears. 2. Turtles. 3. Snakes. 4. Hippo. 5. Ground sloth. 6. Skunks. 7. Loch Ness Monster. 8. Ostrich. 9. Lemmings. 10. Unicorn. 11. Creature from the Black Lagoon. 12. Rats. 13. Warthogs. 14. King Edward of Daventry. Vat 7. Whatever is in this vat, it's huge with a long neck. The liquid is too murky to see more. Vat 9. Tiny furry creatures, too cute for words, are floating in the murky liquid. There are so many of them in here that their individual shapes merge together into one massive fur ball. Vat 5. A large, hairy creature with at least one. Vat 4. A bulky creature with a huge head is floating in the vat. Vat 13. Indistinct shapes are floating in the murky liquid. None of the creatures are close enough to the glass to see what they are. Could it be? Yes. It's heavy. It's shiny. It's real gold. It's got a sharp point at one end. It's the Dagger of Amon Ra. You pick it up and place it in your purse. Boy, the alcohol fumes sure are strong in here. You pick it up and place it in your purse. The word hippo has been stenciled on this crate's label, but somehow you find it difficult to believe that there's a whole hippo in this box. The word wildebeest is stenciled on the crate's label. You're not quite curious enough to open up the crate and see what a wildebeest looks like. The trunk has a name tag identifying it as part of Carrington's personal luggage. Beside it is another sticker emblazoned with the logo Andrea Doria. While this is an interesting approach, Daisy will furiously flash across the floor on fleet ferret feet if you try to catch her. It's a sack of plaster, sometimes used for making molds. A full bottle of Dr. Moribund's guaranteed snake oil. It's the door. You pick it up and place it in your purse. You pick it up and place it in your purse. While this is You pick it up and place it in your purse. The oil paint on the canvas is old. The oil paint on while this the oil paint a typical light-hearted painting. A tip while this while this Don't touch it. You don't... You touch the floor. A slab of meat which smells ripe, veins of rancid fat forming abscesses that ooze copious amounts of pus run through the decomposed cut of beef. Yum, just like Mom used to make. A length of sturdy wire. A wedge of the finest Limburger cheese, the ultimate in cheesiness. The oil paint on the door is locked. When you touch the doorknob, you get a heavy coating of dust all over the palm of your hand. Feels like nice material. Feels There was silence supreme. No. It's you. You see a rotund, ruddy-complexioned man in a fez.
I'm not in the mood to indulge in idle chit-chat, Miss Bow.
The poster outlines basic dissection and preservation techniques. You scan it quickly, just in case you decide to make a change in your career. Don't touch it! The word gorilla has been stenciled across the label of this large crate. Somebody's crossed out gorilla and scrawled Sasquatch underneath. Curator humor. A typical The oil paint Inspecting the painting carefully, you note the bloody quality of the red pigment and recall that Bosch was known for the use of human blood in his paintings. Inspecting the An authentic recreation, at least in Bosch's mind, of happy-go-lucky skeletons tormenting a dead king named Graham. They appear to have stolen a key from the king, which one of them is placing in their treasure barrel. While this is an interesting Inspecting the painting carefully, you note the blood. An authentic recreation, at least in Bosch's mind, of happy-go-lucky skeletons. Anonymous Bosch was known for the realistic look of his paintings, and this is a fine example. Here a skeleton is holding a skeleton key over a barrel, which appears almost three-dimensional as it shines in the light. With careful use of the wire cutters, you manage to remove the skeleton key without damaging the Bosch painting. The trunk has a name tag It appears to be a gold pocket watch. A close look reveals an inscription on the watch. To Dr. Archibald Carrington III for your years of dedicated service, many thanks from your staff at the British Museum. You pick it up and place it in your purse.
Am I gonna have to spank you? Amscray!
Maybe she's wanting to join us, yes?
You hear muffled voices coming through the door to Yvette's office.
You lied to me!
Well, lass, I guess that makes us even. You lied to me.
You had something to do with the Dagger burglary.
You've been sleeping with someone else. I saw you go off with that dock worker.
I've never slept with Steve, and this Ziggy fellow, he told me about you and the Dagger.
And you believed that little weasel. I've arrested the man more times than I can count.
The Ziggy, I know him a long time. He would not lie to me.
That man'd lie to his own mother if someone paid him for it.
Ziggy, he says you were working with the Carrington to steal the Dagger.
Lies! You can't be trusting the man. If he wasn't already dead, I'd pound the truth out of him.
Maybe you already did.
Were you sleeping with the little rat then?
Of course not.
You really surprise me, lass. I'd think you grew up on the streets accusing me of burglary like that.
Where I grew up doesn't matter, does it? The important thing is... Wait, did you hear something at the door?
Yeah, I was hearing it too. Keep your voice down then.
Wolfie, Your facial scars are so wonderful. How did you get them?
Fencing, my strudel. As a young man, I would fence with my Heidelberg friends. We would stop our opponent's saber just before it went through our faces, which would make the scars you see now.
Ah, that is very interesting. You did not use masks to protect your faces?
Nein, that would have been considered unmanly.
You'll have to show me how to do that sometime.
There are many things I can show you, my strudel.
Perhaps we should go somewhere less public, Wolfie.
Oh yeah, good idea. Particularly since there's that annoying reporter wandering around the museum. That is not something I would have allowed if I was running things here.
Give it time, Wolfie. Perhaps you will be running things here someday, if I have anything to say about it.
Oh? What can you do?
There are ways, but come, let's speak of these things in more privacy.